It's my journey, it's your journey. You need my help and I need yours. 'Cause we are...
Welcome to Journeys of Faith. Brother Joseph Frey Aldenhoven here. Be sure to look at the description for special information of interest to you. Guide Your Faith Catholic books for spiritual direction. In a world that often feels adrift, where the noise of modernity can drown out the quiet whispers of the divine, many Catholics are turning inward, seeking solace and guidance in the timeless wisdom of their faith. For those of us hungering for a deeper connection to God, the path isn't always clear. Doubt creeps in, distractions multiply, and the spiritual journey can feel like wandering through an uncharted wilderness. But here's the good news: you don't have to walk alone. At Journeys of Faith, we've spent over 4 decades illuminating the way, drawing from the rich tapestry of Catholic tradition to offer resources that anchor and inspire. Founded by Bob and Penny Lord in 1980, our mission as a Catholic nonprofit has always been to bring the transformative stories of miracles, saints, the Eucharist, and Marian apparitions into the hearts of believers worldwide. Our journey began with a single powerful revelation, a book that changed everything. This is my body, this is my blood. Miracles of the Eucharist became a beacon for countless souls, a testament to the living presence of Christ among us, and the foundation of a media ministry that would grow to include over 25 published works, DVDs, EWTN broadcasts, and life-changing pilgrimages. Now, as modern Catholics grapple with the challenges of faith in a skeptical age, we're doubling down on our commitment to provide trustworthy teaching and authentic experiences. In this guide, we're diving into a curated selection of Catholic books for spiritual direction, works that don't just sit on a shelf but act as companions, pointing you toward holiness with every page. Whether you're a lifelong devotee or someone just beginning to explore the mysteries of the Church, these books, paired with the enduring mission of Journeys of Faith, are here to help you navigate the sacred terrain of your soul. Let's embark on this pilgrimage of the mind and heart together. Essential classics for Catholic spiritual direction. Let's dive into the treasure trove of Catholic literature that has guided countless souls through the rocky terrain of spiritual life. These aren't just books, they're companions, forged in the fires of faith and tested by generations of believers hungry for a deeper connection with God. If you're seeking spiritual direction, these classics are your starting point, time-worn maps to navigate the mysteries of the divine. First up, The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. Written in the 15th century, this devotional gem cuts straight to the heart with its no-nonsense call to humility and surrender. It's not a cozy read. It's a gut punch, urging you to shed worldly attachments and mirror Christ's life of sacrifice. Each short chapter feels like a whispered conversation with a wise mentor, perfect for daily reflection when you're wrestling with pride or distraction. Then there's Introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales. This isn't just for monks or nuns, it's for the everyday Catholic grinding through life's chaos. Written in the early 1600s, St. Francis offers practical advice on prayer, virtue, and handling temptation, all with a gentle fatherly tone. He gets it, life's messy, but holiness isn't reserved for the cloistered. His words are a lifeline for anyone trying to carve out a sacred space amid the noise of modernity. Don't overlook The Story of a Soul by Saint Thérèse of Lisieux. This autobiography of the little flower is deceptively simple, but its depth sneaks up on you. Thérèse's little way of offering small acts of love to God is a game changer for those who think sanctity requires grand gestures. Her raw honesty about struggles with doubt and dryness in prayer will resonate with anyone who's ever felt spiritually stuck. Finally, Dark Night of the Soul by St. John of the Cross. This isn't light reading, it's a deep dive into the purgative process of spiritual growth. St. John unpacks the pain of feeling abandoned by God, framing it as a necessary refining fire. If you're in a season of desolation, this book won't sugarcoat your struggle, but it will give you a framework to endure and emerge stronger. These texts aren't just relics of the past, they're living guides speaking to the universal ache for God. Whether you're a seasoned pilgrim or just starting to explore Catholic books for spiritual direction, these classics demand a spot on your shelf and in your heart. Call to action. Deepen your spiritual journey with Journeys of Faith. Hey there, fellow seekers of the divine. If you've been inspired by this guide to Catholic books for spiritual direction, let's take the next step together. At Journeys of Faith, we're not just about words on a page, we're about transforming your faith into a living, breathing experience. Since 1980, we've been connecting Catholics like you to the heart of our tradition through miracles, saints, and the Eucharist. Here's how you can dive deeper with us and explore our books and media. From our cornerstone work, This Is My Body, This Is My Blood, Miracles of the Eucharist, to over 25 other titles, our resources are crafted to ignite your devotion. Join a pilgrimage. Walk the paths of saints and shrines with our authentic Catholic pilgrimages designed to enrich your soul. Visit Holy Family Mission, experience retreats and spiritual renewal at our Arkansas mission, a haven for faith formation. Connect online, access our DVDs, videos, and digital content to keep the inspiration flowing wherever you are. Let's journey together. Visit Journeys of Faith today and uncover trustworthy Catholic teaching and experiences rooted in tradition. Your faith deserves this adventure. Eucharistic wisdom, books that deepen love of the real presence. Let's dive into the heart of Catholic spirituality, the Eucharist. For many of us, the real presence is the anchor of our faith, a mystery so profound it demands a lifetime to unpack. If you're looking to deepen your connection to this sacred gift, there are a few standout books that can guide you, not just with theology, but with stories and reflections that hit you right in the soul. First up, consider texts that explore the miracles tied to the Eucharist. These aren't just historical curiosities, they're raw, transformative, myriad accounts of the divine breaking into our world. Picture this: a host bleeding on an altar, witnessed by skeptics turned believers, or a consecrated wafer defying the laws of nature to affirm Christ's presence. Books that catalog these events aren't just page turners, they're faith builders, offering evidence of the supernatural woven into the fabric of our tradition. They challenge you to ask, how far does my belief go? Then there are the devotional works that walk you through the theology of the Eucharist with a pastor's tenderness. These books break down the teachings of the church fathers and modern saints, showing how the Eucharist isn't just a ritual, it's a personal encounter. They'll guide you through meditative practices like adoration that turn abstract doctrine into a lived experience. Imagine sitting in silence before the Blessed Sacrament, a book in hand, letting the words of a saint whisper to your heart about the God who waits for you in the tabernacle. Lastly, don't sleep on personal testimonies. Some of the most powerful Catholic books for spiritual direction are the ones written by ordinary folks who've had their lives upended by the Eucharist. These stories aren't polished or academic, they're messy, real, and relatable. They remind us that the real presence isn't reserved for mystics or clergy, it's for anyone willing to show up broken and hungry at the table of the Lord. These reads aren't just about knowledge, they're about transformation. They'll push you to see the Eucharist not as a Sunday obligation, but as the source and summit of everything you are. So grab one, crack it open, and let the journey begin. Marian Guides, Learning from Our Lady's School of Holiness. If you're looking to deepen your spiritual journey, there's no better teacher than the Blessed Virgin Mary, the first disciple and the ultimate model of holiness. Marian devotion isn't just about reciting prayers or honoring statues. It's about stepping into a school of faith where Our Lady herself guides us toward her Son. For Catholics hungry for spiritual direction, books centered on Marian apparitions and teachings offer a roadmap to understanding surrender, trust, and intercession in ways that hit hard and stick with you. Take, for instance, works that unpack the messages of Fatima, Lourdes, or Guadalupe. These aren't just historical accounts, they're raw, transformative encounters with the divine. At Fatima, Mary's call for prayer and penance wasn't a gentle suggestion, It was an urgent plea to a world teetering on the edge of chaos. Books diving into these apparitions break down the context, the miracles, and the prophecies, showing how her words still echo in our messy modern lives. They challenge you to pick up the rosary not as a ritual, but as a weapon of peace. Then there are texts exploring Mary's role as mediatrix and mother. These aren't fluffy, feel good reads. They wrestle with the mystery of her immaculate heart and her unyielding intercession. They ask tough questions. How do you lean on a mother who's also the Queen of Heaven? How do her sorrows and joys mirror your own struggles? The best of these books don't just tell you about Mary, they push you to walk with her, to let her lead you closer to Christ through every trial. For anyone seeking Catholic books for spiritual direction, Marian guides are essential. They're not just stories, they're invitations to a deeper, more intentional faith. Whether you're drawn to the dramatic visions of approved apparitions or the quiet power of Mary's fiat, these works remind us that holiness isn't a distant goal, it's a daily choice, mentored by the woman who said yes to God's wildest plan. Lives of the saints as spiritual mentors. Let's talk about the saints, not as distant haloed figures on stained glass, but as real gritty mentors who've walked the path of faith before us. Their lives aren't just dusty history, they're raw, unfiltered playbooks for navigating the mess of human existence with a divine compass. When you dive into Catholic books for spiritual direction, the stories of these holy men and women hit like a gut punch of inspiration, showing you how to wrestle with doubt, endure suffering, and cling to God through it all. Take Saint Therese of Lisieux, the little flower, whose memoir Story of a Soul reads less like a pious sermon and more like a quiet, piercing conversation with a friend. She didn't slay dragons or part seas. She offered up the mundane, washing dishes, enduring petty slights, as a radical act of love. Her little way isn't a lofty theology. It's a practical, boots on the ground approach to holiness that anyone can grasp. Books like hers don't just narrate a life, they challenge you to rethink your own. Then there's St. Augustine, whose Confessions is the ultimate spiritual deep dive. This isn't a sanitized hagiography, it's a no holds barred account of a man who stumbled through sin, skepticism, and heartbreak before surrendering to grace. Reading his words, you feel the weight of his struggles, the ache of his longing for truth. It's a mirror to our own messy journeys, a reminder that spiritual direction isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. These accounts aren't just bedtime stories for the devout, they're master classes in resilience and trust, written in the blood and sweat of real lives, whether it's St. Francis of Assisi stripping himself bare to embrace poverty, or St. Teresa of Avila mapping the soul's ascent in interior castle. The saints offer hard-won wisdom for anyone hungry to grow closer to God. Pick up their works, and you're not just reading, you're being mentored by the best. Discernment 101, foundational text for hearing God's voice. Let's get real for a second. Discerning God's will in a noisy, distraction-filled world is no easy feat. It's like trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a rock concert, but for Catholics seeking spiritual direction, the right books can act as a kind of noise-canceling headphone, tuning out the chaos and amplifying that still, small voice of God. These foundational texts aren't just dusty tomes, they're battle-tested guides that have shaped saints and sinners alike on the path to clarity and purpose. Start with the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola. This isn't a casual read, it's a full-on spiritual boot camp. Written by the founder of the Jesuits in the 16th century, this book lays out a structured approach to prayer, meditation, and discernment that's as relevant now as it was then. Ignatius teaches you how to sift through your desires, fears, and distractions to recognize where God is leading. It's not about warm fuzzies. It's about hard choices and honest self-reflection. If you've ever felt stuck in a spiritual rut, this is the roadmap to break free. Then there's The Cloud of Unknowing, a 14th century gem by an anonymous English mystic. This one's for anyone who's ever felt like God is just out of reach. It's raw and unfiltered, urging you to let go of overthinking and embrace a love that transcends understanding. The author's core idea: you can't know God with your mind alone. You've got to love him in the cloud of mystery. for discernment. It's a reminder that sometimes God's voice isn't a neon sign, it's a quiet nudge in the fog, and you've got to trust it. Finally, don't sleep on Introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales. Written for lay people, not just monks or nuns, this 17th century classic is like having a spiritual director in your pocket. Francis breaks down how to live a holy life amid the mess of daily responsibilities, offering practical tips on prayer and decision making. His gentle, encouraging tone makes discernment feel less like a daunting puzzle and more like a journey you can actually take one small step at a time. These texts aren't just books, they're tools. They've been forged in the struggles of real people, people who, doubted, wrestled, and ultimately found God's voice in the chaos. If you're serious about spiritual direction, they're not optional reading, they're the foundation you build on. Advanced reading for seasoned seekers. For those who have already dipped their toes into the well of Catholic spirituality and are hungry for a deeper dive, there's a wealth of profound texts that can challenge and refine your faith. These aren't your introductory prayer guides or saintly biographies. These are dense, soul stirring works that demand contemplation and a willingness to wrestle with the mysteries of God. Think of them as the spiritual equivalent of a grueling pilgrimage, arduous but transformative. Start with the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola. This isn't just a book, it's a battle plan for the soul. Written by the founder of the Jesuits, it's a rigorous framework for discernment and self examination, designed to strip away distractions and align your will with God's. Expect to spend weeks, even months, poring over its meditations and exercises. It's not light reading. Ignatius crafted this for warriors of faith, those ready to confront their weaknesses head on. Then there's The Interior Castle by St. Teresa of Avila. If you're seeking a roadmap to the inner life, this 16th century masterpiece is your guide. Teresa, a mystic and reformer, describes the soul's journey through 7 mansions, each representing a stage of spiritual growth. Her language is poetic yet piercing, pulling you into a vivid exploration of divine intimacy. It's a slow burn. Don't rush it. Let her words simmer as you reflect on your own path toward union with God. For those drawn to the intellectual heft of theology, consider Introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales. Written for lay people, this gem bridges the gap between monastic discipline and everyday life. De Sales offers practical advice on prayer, virtue, and resisting temptation, all with a gentle pastoral tone that feels like a personal conversation. Yet beneath its accessibility lies a profound call to holiness, challenging even the most seasoned believer to elevate their daily walk with Christ. These Catholic books for spiritual direction aren't just reads, they're commitments. They'll push you, unsettle you, and if you let them, reshape you. So carve out the quiet, grab a notebook for reflection, and prepare to go deeper than you thought possible. Spiritual direction for busy Catholics, short works with lasting impact. Let's face it, modern life doesn't exactly leave room for monastic contemplation. Between the grind of work, family chaos, and the endless scroll of social media, carving out time for spiritual growth can feel like a Sisyphean task. But here's the good news. Catholic tradition is rich with short, potent works that pack a devotional punch without demanding hours of your day. These aren't dusty tomes, they're spiritual quick hits designed to pierce through the noise and anchor your faith in just a few pages. Take The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. This 15th century gem, often attributed to a humble monk, isn't a sprawling epic. It's a collection of bite-sized meditations that cut straight to the heart of humility and surrender. Each chapter is a mini retreat, perfect for a stolen 10 minutes during a lunch break. Lines like, "He who knows himself well is lowly in his own eyes," aren't just pious platitudes. They're a gut check for anyone wrestling with pride in a selfie-obsessed world. It's a book that doesn't just sit on your shelf, it demands to be lived. Then there's Introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales. Don't let the title fool you into thinking it's only for the cloistered. Written for lay people, this classic offers practical, digestible advice on weaving holiness into the mess of daily life. St. Francis gets it. He knows you're not praying in a silent chapel all day. His counsel, like taking a moment to retire into the solitude of your heart amidst chaos, is lifeline for the overcommitted. You can dip into a chapter while waiting for the kids at soccer practice and walk away with a renewed sense of purpose. And for those drawn to Marian devotion, True Devotion to Mary by St. Louis de Montfort is a compact powerhouse. It's not a light read emotionally, but it's short enough to tackle over a few evenings. De Montfort's radical call to consecrate yourself to Mary as a path to Christ might sound intense, but his clarity and passion make it accessible. It's less a book and more a spiritual boot camp, reshaping how you see the Blessed Mother's role in your faith journey. These works aren't just old texts gathering dust in a parish library, they're tools for the trenches. They're written by saints and mystics who understood human struggle, and they're tailored for souls who don't have the luxury of endless free time. So, if your spiritual life feels like it's running on fumes, grab one of these, read a page, let it sink in. You'll find that even a few minutes with these masters of faith can turn a frantic day into a quiet encounter with the divine. Recommended reading for aspiring spiritual directors. Browse our Catholic Books for Spiritual Direction collection. Let's dive into the stacks, the sacred texts that can guide you on the path to becoming a spiritual director or simply deepening your connection to the divine. These Catholic books for spiritual direction aren't just dusty tomes, they're living, breathing companions for anyone hungry to navigate the soul's terrain. I've combed through the wisdom of the ages to unearth a few gems that stand out for their clarity, depth, and ability to stir the heart. Think of this as your personal library starter pack, books that don't just inform but transform. The Spiritual Exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola by St. Ignatius of Loyola. If there's a blueprint for spiritual direction, this is it. Written by the founder of the Jesuits, this 16th century manual isn't just a book, it's a rigorous boot camp for the soul. St. Ignatius lays out a series of meditations, prayers, and contemplative practices designed to help you discern God's will. It's not light reading, it demands commitment, often guided by a director or retreat leader. But for those aspiring to guide others, it's non negotiable. You'll learn how to listen to God, to yourself, to those you counsel. This is where spiritual direction gets real. Introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales. St. Francis de Sales doesn't mess around with lofty, inaccessible ideals. Written in the early 1600s, this masterpiece is a practical guide for lay people and clergy alike, proving that holiness isn't reserved for monks and cloisters. It's a masterclass in tailoring spiritual advice to the individual with gentle, compassionate insights on prayer, virtue, and navigating the messiness of daily life. Aspiring directors, take note. This book teaches you how to meet people where they are, not where you think they should be. It's like having a wise, patient mentor whispering in your ear. The Cloud of Unknowing by Anonymous, 14th century. This one's a bit of a wild card penned by an unknown English mystic centuries ago. It's not your typical Catholic fare, but its influence on contemplative prayer is undeniable. The text urges readers to let go of intellectual striving and rest in a cloud of unknowing, loving God beyond thought or image. For spiritual directors, it's a reminder that not every soul needs answers. Sometimes they need mystery. It's a challenging read, dense with medieval language, but crack it open with a modern translation, and you'll find a treasure trove for guiding others into deeper, wordless communion with God. These aren't just books, they're tools forged in the fires of faith and tested by centuries of seekers. They'll challenge you to think beyond rote answers, to sit with the uncomfortable, and to guide with humility. Whether you're mentoring a friend or stepping into formal spiritual direction, let these works shape your approach. They've guided saints and sinners alike. Now it's your turn to pick up the mantle. Pilgrimage on the Page, books that transport you to holy shrines. Let's face it, not everyone can pack a suitcase and jet off to Lourdes or Fatima on a whim. Life's demands, work, family, budgets often keep us tethered to the daily grind. But here's the good news: the transformative power of a pilgrimage isn't locked behind a plane ticket. Some of the most profound Catholic books for spiritual direction can sweep you away to the holiest of shrines without ever leaving your armchair. These works aren't just ink on paper, they're portals to sacred ground, meticulously crafted to stir your soul and draw you closer to the divine. Take, for instance, the vivid accounts of Marian apparitions that seem to shimmer off the page. These books don't just recount history, they immerse you in the awe of those first witnesses standing on the very soil where Our Lady appeared. You can almost feel the cool stone of a grotto under your fingertips or hear the whispered prayers of pilgrims echoing through ancient basilicas. The best of these texts weave together historical detail, theological insight, and raw human emotion, making you a part of the story, whether it's the quiet humility of Guadalupe or the urgent messages of Medjugorje. Then there are the volumes dedicated to the lives of saints tied to specific holy sites. These aren't dry hagiographies, they're gritty, real, and often raw, peeling back the layers of legend to reveal the flesh and blood struggles of figures like St. Bernadette or St. Pio of Pietrelcina. Reading them, you're not just learning about a saint, you're walking the dusty paths they trod, kneeling in the chapels where they prayed, and grappling with the same doubts and graces that shaped their sanctity. It's a pilgrimage of the mind and heart, one that leaves you changed. And let's not overlook the works on Eucharistic miracles, those staggering accounts of the real presence made manifest in places now revered as shrines. These stories hit hard, challenging even the most steadfast believer to confront the mystery head on. Through the pages, you're there in the crowd, witnessing the impossible, a host bleeding, a chalice defying nature's laws. The authors of these books don't shy away from the skepticism or the science. They dig into it, inviting you to wrestle with the evidence as if you're standing in the very church where it happened. These Catholic books for spiritual direction do more than educate. They transport. They bridge the gap between where you are and where the sacred lives, turning your quiet reading nook into a sanctuary. So if the road to a physical shrine feels out of reach, let these pages be your guide. They're not just a substitute, they're a journey in their own right, one that can ignite your faith as powerfully as any trek across continents. A path forward with journeys of faith. As you close the pages of these transformative Catholic books for spiritual direction, remember that the journey of faith is never a solitary trek. At Journeys of Faith, we've been guiding souls since 1980, inspired by the profound Eucharistic miracles that first stirred Bob and Penny Lord to action. Their mission, our mission, is to illuminate the wonders of the Eucharist, the lives of saints, and the grace of Marian apparitions, bringing you closer to the heart of Catholic tradition. These books are more than words on a page. They're companions for your spiritual pilgrimage, whether you're praying in your home or walking the sacred paths of a shrine with us. Through our array of resources, books, DVDs, digital media, and in-person retreats at Holy Family Mission in Arkansas, we strive to meet the spiritual hunger of modern Catholics. Our legacy, built on decades of trusted teaching, continues to connect believers worldwide to authentic experiences and education. So take the next step, dive deeper into your faith with Journeys of Faith. Let us guide you through the miracles, the mysteries, and the timeless truths of our church. Your spiritual journey awaits. Will you answer the call? Thanks for listening to Super Saints Podcast. Be sure to click the link in the description for special news items.
It's your journey.